Yesterday I wanted to start trimming that hedge behind me. It goes all the way up, quite a long way along the lane. And I had to stand on a wall, thin wall on the other side, about, I don't know, a couple of metres above a stone surface. So a bit of a risk of falling. And so I wanted my helmet and to consider whether I needed to tie myself onto the hedge somehow in case I fell. Anyway, I ended up doing it just with the helmet, but not tying myself on. But as I dug out the climbing gear, thought to have a little inventory of what I've got, and hung it with the help of a few nails, hung it out here on the balcony, and it's almost like a little exhibition. So I might as well give you a guided tour. What I've got, I mean, I want to have a go at climbing, but I mean, I've had about an hour in the past 3 years. I've put a couple of bolts. There's it's between a small crag and a large boulder. Quarter of an hour's walk down there. Put a couple of bolts in there so I could top rope it. But I only had to go for about an hour. I must have to get down there again soon. But what I've got the climbing gear for really is actually tree work. I've got a few trees up the field there that are desperately in need of trimming because some are overhanging a neighbour's house. So I've made a start on that, but there's still a long way to go with it. So anyway, the exhibition. Ropes. I've got some rotten cheap nylon stuff from Amazon China for hauling logs and stuff. The only proper rope I've got is this, which is 9.8. Yes, 9.8 millimeter dynamic climbing rope. Not sure what brand. Dynamic. Really bouncy. That was unexpected. And I bought it before I was aware about the bounciness. I mean, it'll stretch about a third again, which isn't something you want in tree work because you want it to be static so that if you at all times you're working from the rope, so you want that really fixed. Climbing, you're not going on that all the time. You want it to give you a bit of take your weight gently if you fall off. So different purpose, but it's good enough for the small jobs I've got with the trees up there. Next, a bunch of slings. Most of them with straightforward nylon ones, different sizes. Not entirely sure what these nylon ones are rated at. Does it say? Oh, yeah. 22 kilonewtons. So 22 kilonewtons is enough to split you in half easily. 2 kilonewtons is the maximum you ever want to experience. So I mean, it's 100 kilograms with gravity. 10 meters, I can't remember what it is. Gravity at 9.8 meters per second going down, and a weight of 100 kilograms, 1 newton ish. So 22 kilonewtons, plenty. There's also some Dyneema slings here, which are ridiculously, oh no, they're 22 kilonewtons, but they're a lot thinner and lighter. Also very slippy. That's the Teflon stuff. That is my setup for going up and down the rope. An ascender, a pulley, foot loops, and I think that was to tie into my harness. So that's my ascension system. What I think it's rapid center descender, something like that. I call it. I don't know. Standard tree work setup for single rope. A lot of the tree people use double ropes in kind of in a loop, but the alternative, which I've been using, is to have a base anchor. So you tie one end of the rope to the bottom of the tree, go up over a high branch, come down again, and then you're going up and down the dangly bit on one of these. Then I've got a couple of progress capture devices. That's a Kong duck. It can act as a pulley, but it's not a very good one for that. So that is handy just for locking off. If after I've gone up on the ascender and I want to lock off on the rope or whatever, that Kong thing's good. That's, I forget what that one's called. It's a camp safety lift. It's a camp lift, and that's a bit floppier. That was quite handy with the top roping because it's very slippy going up. Didn't have to keep pulling it up. Here, the light's not too brilliant from where I am. Is that any better? I got a harness in there that's a Petzl, cheapest Petzl basically, cheap and light. A pair of La Sportive climbing shoes, which I haven't seen, they've still got a label on them. Helmet that's a Petzl Borio, it's just another cheap one, got a good make. And some gloves that are meant for belaying, but they just get general use as far as I'm concerned. And I got a chalk bag, of course, just in case I do go climbing. Next, bunch of quick draws. I got these. They're intended for clipping into bolts of protection, and you clip the rope in the other end. But for the rope, for the tree stuff, it was just a cheap source of carabiners. To buy a stack of these was much cheaper than buying a bunch of individual carabiners. Here, these are personal anchors. Got one of these quite fancy carabiners on the end of them. What are these? It's Kong. Don't know what they're called, but it's a Kong, Italian brand. And I mean, it's convenient having two, and it's just standard climbing dynamic rope on them with knots. I don't think I can't remember what you call it, the fixed wires for going up mountains where you clip on, clip off, clip off. You need two of them. It'll come to me. But going up a tree, it's quite handy to have two personal anchors because it put a sling around a branch there, clip in, sling around a branch there, clip in, unclip that one, clip on that one, and be off the rope at that point. You can just hop around the branches easily, quickly, with a couple of them. Here, the Belay devices plus, a traditional figure eight, well, slightly untraditional. It's a Petzl, whatever they call this one that isn't squared off figure eight. One of those plates, which is a C2 climbing technology. They're Italian as well, I think. Crocodile. That's actually quite handy for, well, both of those are quite handy. I've not used them for belaying. I did, early on I did use that for going up and down the rope a bit, but it was a lot of effort. What they are quite handy for is just hanging gear off and then like splitting the load, that kind of thing. That's a little annoying. It's just a regular Belay device. I wish I'd have got one that had guide mode. It'd be more useful. I barely use that, and like haven't been climbing with anybody else. So, and a gree. That's really handy for going up and down the trees. But got to remember that you can't rely on it for everything. You do need some, well, rope soloing. Like you do need some kind of a backup. Next, a couple of Prussiks. This is aramid cord, which is it's Beal aramid, Kevlar. So it's the core is very strong and heat proof. And if you're sliding down a rope on a prusik knot or a rather thin tress, you don't want it heating up too much, and it will. But this stuff, it's got a much higher melting point than the polyamide or the Dyneema materials. So for prusiks, next, a couple of little pulleys. I think they're Betzel's 15 kilonewtons. Oh no, climbing technology, made in Italy. Essential for the rope, for the tree stuff. Here, absolutely useless little pulley that's meant to go in a carabiner, but it was useless. The plate that's meant to be if you fall off and you're on a rope, a static rope, or tied on with a personal ankle like this. This is an alternative to the screamer that breaks apart. This shock absorber, that's it, full absorber. And so you weave the rope, well, the personal anchor or whatever, in between these, and it will slip somewhat, but not completely. So just to take the jolt out of a bad fall. That's quite handy. That should be on one of the personal anchor bits. It's a Kong kilograms to 500. Kong slide, that's it. For shortening the rope. Just very handy for that, very easy thing to use. I prefer the carabiners. I prefer the ones that are screw gauge. I don't fancy trying the quick lock things, the ones that have got fancier mechanisms, because I think they just confuse me. These, I know how they work, so I can rely on them. I think they're all usually rated about 22 kilonewtons. That one, 23 kilonewtons. That one a little bit bigger. 24 kilonewtons. Here, anchors. It's just a cordelette that's either for an anchor or general purpose. This is a Dyneema sling that I've already got set up as a quad anchor, prepared for the little craggy bit down there, with steel. It's tarnished a bit, but not rusted. I suppose that must be zinc plated. Steel and stainless steel connectors. What that was called? I've forgotten. Quick links. Something like that. I don't know. And finally, homemade ladder, homemade throw ball. It's just a ball, squeaky dog toy that I filled with sand to throw up over branches and trees. Take a string with it, and then you pull the rope over that, and that to go over the rope when it's going over the edge of a rock, so it doesn't damage the rope. It's just some, I don't know where I found that material, but held together with a bit of Velcro, rope goes through the middle. And yeah, there you have my climbing gear. A few sacks over there, audio, and if I can get it, mozzarella. So there we go. Have a nice day.